Hi, Kubrick Level 1972, back with another video. Book collection number 10, more film books. Let's see, I think um, maybe we can get through the whole thing by this end of this video. If not, there'll be one more video. If I go to book collection number 11 video, that video probably won't be that long. So anyways, let's get to it. So next up, this I got at a film festival. I should read some of these books, but maybe they just repeat themselves because it's just the history of movies. And if you read a few history of movies books and you've seen a fair number of movies and you're aware of movies, maybe it seems redundant to read history of film books all the time. But anyways, I picked this up. I thought it was kind of interesting, and it's loaded with pictures, and it's just looks cool, various movements of film, the new wave, film in a new media world, the development of sound and film, the art of the silent film, international spread of cinema, pioneers of cinematography, moving pictures. So this is, just a brief capsule of history of movies. I guess maybe if you want to get a quick summation of what film history, it might be a good book to read. Oh, did I say who it was written by? Andrea Rannemeyer, Film: A Concise History. This is not really a film book. This is a novel, but I saw this film at the Jacob Burns Film Center in Pleasantville, New York. I can't remember if it goes by this title of the novel or not. I think the novelist was the guest for the film, and I think he's made more than one novel about the subject, and so I bought the book. I don't know if he autographed it. I can't remember. No, he didn't. It's Brenners God. I think he's an Austrian journalist, author rather, not journalist. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, he was born in Salzburg, Austria. They've been made into equally successful films in Germany, so he sold over 300,000 copies. He's been awarded the German Thriller Prize 3 times, as well as the Literature Prize from the city of Vienna. So, and the Brenner movie, I can't remember the title of the movie, but maybe it was like an action. A thriller movie. I can't remember. I think there's for me, it looks like that movie had like a homage to North by Northwest, but I could be wrong on that. Maybe I'm disinterpreting the movie. These are these books called Focus-ons. They were getting rid of them at the library. The first one's called Focus on the Birth of a Nation. That's the book and the movie made by D.W. Griffith. Of course, it's controversial because it has the Ku Klux Klan as heroes in the movie, and it's been controversial ever since. It's like one of the films that started off the 2-hour format of making movies, even though it's a 3-hour and 15-minute movie, I believe. So then we got Focus on Shoot the Piano Player. That was directed by Francois Truffaut. Have not seen this movie. My opinion of Truffaut has changed over time. I'm much more a fan of Godard these days, but I used to be more into Truffaut. I wish I could articulate as to why I'm not a Truffaut fan that much anymore, but maybe Godard is more intellectual. I don't know if maybe Truffaut is too, but I mean, Forward Blows is a good film, but I don't know. I just don't connect to it like I used to. Next one's Focus on Bonnie and Clyde. I can't remember if I read all these books, these Focus on books. Um, Bonnie and Clyde was made by, was it Arthur Hill, the director? Or no, Arthur Penn. Arthur Penn. And he was going to be a guest, I believe, at the Jacob Burns Film Center. But he died before he could be a guest. But anyways, interesting history behind the movie is that originally it was that Godard was going to make it, and Godard didn't want to make it set during the 20s, I think it is, when the real life Bonnie and Clyde lived. But he wanted to set in the modern day, and he wanted to shoot it in like modern day 60s New Jersey or New York. I think it was New Jersey. And you know, Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty, you know, obviously became Bonnie and Clyde, but you see pictures of the real Bonnie and Clyde, they're not really that handsome. Focus on Shakespearean films. I think that's, wait a minute, that's Laurence Olivier there. I do not know what that movie is. If you check out some of my newer Criterion videos, they say pickups. I don't think they say DVD and Blu-ray collection. Oh, maybe one does because it's Throne of Blood by Kurosawa, but the other ones, Chimes at Midnight, Macbeth by Roman Polanski. What's the other film? Othello by Orson Welles. They're in my pickups, and I watched some of those movies. I watched Othello. I watched by Orson Welles. I've watched Throne of Blood a number of times. It's my personal favorite of Kurosawa's, and probably my personal favorite Japanese movie. I haven't watched Polanski's Macbeth, and I haven't watched Wells' Chimes at Midnight. I want to, at some point, watch those. This book's a pretty good book. It's by Peter Biskind. Easy Riders, Raging Bulls, How the Sex and Drug rock and roll generation saved Hollywood. It's how the young generation of filmmakers coming out of film school sort of rescued Hollywood from being non-profitable to being a thriving industry again. You know, people like, of course, Spielberg and Lucas, Coppola and Scorsese and De Palma. You know, they're the people that brought Hollywood to a new level. And of course, you know, films became more violent and sexual, and swearing became more prominent in films. There's another good book that Peter Biskind wrote. There's Spielberg with his first wife, Amy Irving. There's another book that Peter Biskind wrote. Oh, here's Martin Scorsese. I think it's Martin Scorsese. Yeah, Martin Scorsese with Robbie Robertson of the band, I believe is. You got De Palma there. So, but anyways, Peter Biskind also wrote another book, which I'll get to at a certain point. That's Hal Ashby. Peter Biskind wrote another book called Down and Dirty Pictures, which is about a more current filmmaking history, the 90s, about Sundance and Miramax. And that's a pretty good book, too. And I own that book, too, as well, I'm pretty sure. I know I have it. And that's a pretty good book as well. So that's that. Let's see, what's next? Okay, so we'll do this this pile right here. This book I've had for quite some time. Top 100 movies. John Cobalt presents the top 100 movies. This is what is considered, at least at one time, because the list changes all the time, of the greatest movies ever made. And Sight and Sound, a British magazine. I think I bought one or two, maybe one of their magazines when they have the best films, 10 best films ever made issues. And I think they usually come out in the years like 92, 2002, 2012. The next one would be 2022. So, like the top 10s, of course, Citizen Kane. Let me see if I can get this better. Citizen Kane there, of course. And Rules of the Game. So hard to. Battleship Potemkin, of course. Regarded as the greatest silent film ever made. Regarded as the greatest film ever made before Citizen Kane. Or at least I've heard so. 8.5. At the time it came out, it was regarded like as the best film of, like in the 80s, it was regarded as the best film of the last 25 years or whatever. Singing in the Rain. I'm just going to show the top 10 here. Modern Times, Wild Strawberries. Modern Times by Charlie Chaplin, and Wild Strawberries by Ingmar Bergman. The Gold Rush by Chaplin again. Casablanca by Michael Curtiz. And I'll just finish on this one, maybe 11 too. Rashomon by Kurosawa, and Bicycle Thieves by De Sica. Next up, we have a book, DVD Confidential, hundreds of hidden Easter eggs revealed. So, if you bought some DVDs in like the late 90s, early 2000s, you might find of those DVDs you bought, this book will tell you how to find the Easter eggs, which are these small little, I don't know if you'd call it trivial, but like the Blue Velvet one, for example. If you move the remote control a certain way, you'll get like, I think it's a bird icon. You click on that, and David Lynch talks about what he likes to eat at McDonald's. He says a fillet of fish and a chocolate shake or something like that. So, yeah, so that's that. Next up, we have two books involving Hitchcock. This is a really good book. It's called Alfred Hitchcock and the Making of Psycho by Stephen Rebello. Now, there was a movie called Hitchcock where Anthony Hopkins played him, and Helen Mirren played Mrs. Hitchcock. Scarlett Johansson played Janet Leigh. Can't remember who played the other roles, but it was a pretty good movie. I took, when I saw it at my local cinema, I took they had posters there, so I took the poster and I hung it up where I used to live. But this is a really good book. If you want to read a really good making of book, then this is a pretty good book. A lot of Hitchcock books, I think they show these montage shower scene scenes, shots, a lot of Hitchcock books I've noticed. Okay, so that's that. Next up, we have Vertigo, the Making of a Hitchcock Classic by Dan O'Leary and a forward by Martin Scorsese. Psycho is probably my second favorite Hitchcock, and Vertigo is my favorite. Psycho's just maybe by a centimeter. I like it less than Vertigo, but I love Vertigo. Vertigo is kind of different from the rest of Hitchcock's films because Vertigo, to me, is more abstract, more ambiguous. That's the word I'd use. It's more mysterious because, you know, most Hitchcock films, it's the wrong guy accused of something, trying to survive. But Vertigo has sort of this ghostly, ambiguous kind of nature to it. It has kind of like a deja vu or reincarnation aspect to it. I don't know, just a very you can't make a big conclusions about it to some degree. You know, just, and I think well, it's based on a novel by these French. I think it's two French authors. Might be wrong on that. I can't remember their names, but they also wrote. I think they wrote the screenplay for Clouseau's Diabolique. Diabolique. This mistress and this wife of this headmaster at this boys' private school, they try to kill him in a swimming pool at the school, and they find the next day he's gone, so they can't really bury the body, and yeah, so. Excellent. This is an excellent book too. I think it has pretty detailed analysis how they make the movie. I'd highly recommend this book too, as well. What was I going to say about Psycho? Oh, I know. If you remember the staircase scene at the mission, that's a pretty famous shot, you know, because they dialed the camera one way. I think it was. They dialed the camera. It was a miniature staircase. That's what they used, and they dialed the camera forward. And they, at the same time, they moved the millimeter of the lens from a telephoto to a wide angle, I think. So they gave that. That's how you sort of imagine Jimmy Stewart's Vertigo. So, anyways. And they've called that the Hitchcock zoom, and it's been used in other movies, amongst others. Jaws is like one of those films where like Roy Scheider sees something happening in the shore in the sea by the beach, and he comes to the realization that Jaws might be there or something like that, and you know he had that Hitchcock zoom there, and that's where it comes from. This I don't think has any pictures. I think it's a pretty good book. It's called The Making of 2001: A Space Odyssey. I think it's a collection of writings, testimony and commentary by Stanley Kubrick, Arthur C. Clarke, Jeremy Bernstein, Jerome Agel, Keir Dullea, and others. And I think it's a series of books. It's called The Modern Library of the Movies. Modern Library, you know, they're a company like Penguin Classics that release a lot of the classic literature books, you know, with special editions like Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment, War and Peace by Tolstoy, you know, Jane Austen books, Charlotte Bronte, Emily Bronte, you know, Turgenev, you know, Goethe, Nietzsche, you know, that kind of a thing. But so I guess this is the film collection they've done. And here's a quote from John Lennon, 2001, I see it every week. And an introduction by Jay Cox. Jay Cox wrote the screenplay, or co-wrote it at least, for Gangs of New York. I'll say something interesting about screenwriting is that I think what makes a film really good, you know, in the hands, and especially if you have a good director like Spielberg or Scorsese, is if you have a good script, a really good screenwriter can really elevate that material. I think John Logan or something did The Aviator, and that made that film work. Jay Cox's Gangs of New York, and the screen. Oh, Jay Cox and Steven Zalian, I think both wrote, or I'm kind of confused, but or is it Steven Zalian who wrote Schindler's List? You know, so I think those guys, those screenwriters, really helped directors like Kubrick, Scorsese, and Spielberg make really good films because they provided them with a really good script. Okay, so I think I'm going to have to do another video. So be on the lookout. Book collection number 11 is coming up, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye.